trending now, social media marketing and AI for small business. I know this has been touched on in some of the earlier sessions, so we've got some experts up here that can really kind of give some input. This session will be moderated by Michael Newman. Also participating in today's session are John Chambers, Carolyn Cooke, and Dr. Anthony Edwards. So let's go ahead and please find our seats, and I'm going to turn this over to our moderator.
Thank you, Brian. My name is Michael Newman. I'm the owner of MWN Consulting. We provide technology services for small businesses here in Texas, but also across the United States and even into Canada. We help business owners learn how to leverage technology. So many of the things we talked about earlier, we can substitute technology, or we can make introductions for partnerships that can help your business grow and be more efficient utilizing technology. And now I'd like to let my panel introduce themselves. We'll start with Carolyn.
My name is Caroline Cooke. I'm with the Youth Advisory Council from Carthage Main Street.
Uh-oh. Is it on?
Hello. Now, there we go. My name's John Chambers. I'm with the Arnold Center for Entrepreneurship at Stephen F. Austin State University.
Hello. I'm Dr. Anthony Edwards, and I'm an assistant professor of educational leadership and technology at Tarleton State University.
Very good. All right. We'll start right in the middle with Mr. Chambers. How do you utilize AI to support your marketing efforts?
Yeah, so I mostly use AI for my social media posts. It can be difficult to always come up with unique captions for everything I have to post and keep it fresh for my audience. But I also have to make sure that whatever AI spits out at me is in aligned with our brand voice. So the way that I utilize AI is about a year ago, we ran a marketing analysis for entrepreneurship, and it gave us our core messaging, our tone guidelines, our voice guidelines, our market segments. And so I took this whole market analysis and I threw it into ChatGPT. AI is only as good as the information that you provide it with, so the more information that you can give it, the better the response you're gonna get. So by providing it with this marketing analysis, everything that it spits back out to me is gonna be in line with our brand voice. You also want to be careful with what you provide AI with, because if it's sensitive information, you're throwing that out into the world of AI, and if anybody else is asking similar questions about your company, they could have access to that information. But our marketing analysis wasn't sensitive information. So whenever I ask for a post now, I just say, using the information I provide you in our marketing analysis, could you generate a caption for this post? And then whatever it spits back out at me is directly in line with our brand voice. So going forward with that, I also use that same method of providing it with the market analysis for event planning, email campaigns, marketing campaigns, those types of things, and then I just ask it to direct it towards whatever that market segment is. So everything, I would never recommend just always copying and pasting what ChatGPT gives you. It's usually very clear that you used AI to generate a caption if you do it that way. But if you give it the information that it needs, whatever it gives you is gonna sound more like something that would come from your organization, and then you might only have to tweak it just a little bit.
Very good. And you mentioned a specific tool, ChatGPT. So follow-up question, this will be for Dr. Edwards. With so many different AI tools available, how do you choose the right one?
Question. So my biggest advice here is to think about what is it that you're trying to do. I mean, because I think a lot of times when people look at AI, they equate ChatGPT with AI. And it is one tool out of many tools that are out there. So if you are trying to create copy for social media posts, right, there's a variety of tools that you can use to do that. If you're trying to create images for social media, because, right, if you think about social media, images, videos are very catchy, engaging. So there are tools to do that. Again, video creation. If you don't have a lot of video that you have for your organization, there are tools that do that. So if you're trying to figure out how do you create a sales presentation to go out and talk with clients, there are tools that do that. So I think a lot of times we start with ChatGPT, but also you got to think about also your organization. Are you a Microsoft organization in terms of how you do your business? Do you do most of your things on Google? What are the things that you do? Are there tools that you use already that happen to have AI components built in? So just as an example, does anybody have an account like with Canva to make graphics or images or things like that? So many people just use Canva and build everything from scratch. But Canva also has AI tools where you can prompt and it will give you a starting place, right? And again, as the other panelist said, it's only as good as the prompts that you give it. And so my advice there is, first of all, commit to 15 minutes a day to figure out how to use AI better and what are some different ways you can do. Because if you don't practice it, you can't train your staff, right? And you've got to be a leader on this. Because as we said in the earlier panels, it's not going away. So you got to lead here. And so the other piece to that is to figure out how do you leverage it, right? And so it's not just, let's just use it because it's cool, but how is it going to save you time? We talked earlier in the last presentation about what are the high value tasks that you do as a leader, and then what are the tasks that you assign to your team? Well, guess what? AI is now part of your team, right? Are there pieces that you can use in your business to help you, and it's not going to do the work for you, but it becomes a team member and gives you information that you evaluate and improve.
Okay. So for those of us that grew up in the late 20th century, some of us are very adopting for AI, some of us are resistant to that. But I'd like to hear from Ms. Cooke. What does your generation think about AI? How do you feel about it?
Well, I believe that my generation likes AI because it can help us in many ways. Like, it can help us study and learn new information.
Can you tell us more about how do you use it in studying or learning? Is it part of your school curriculums now, or?
Well, you can get it to make like practice quizzes and stuff, and so you can practice your information and what you know and don't know.
Okay. So you feel like your generation is really embracing the technology?
Yes, I do.
Good. Another question for you, Dr. Edwards. What would be the single most impactful way that a business could start using AI today?
If we had to just pick one, I would say figuring out how do you make money in your business, right? Because if you're going to pick something, it has to be something that leverages you. So if your challenge right now is lead generation, right? Then how could you leverage AI to help build you a sales funnel or a lead funnel, right? If your challenge is not necessarily lead generation, but closing those leads, how can it help you create a sales presentation to be able to close those leads more effectively? Then if it is, tools that help you in terms of closing the sale, if there are apps that it needs to build for you, because again, you don't have to be a coder, but you can use AI to help you in terms of, okay, well, I'm working with the customer and I'm on my iPad and I've got to now transact business. You can actually create templates that help you close that business faster for the customer. So I would say part of it is figuring out what is the problem in your business, and then figuring out, okay, how can I leverage the tool to be able to do it more quickly and more cost effectively? So how can it help me find more clients? How can it help me close more clients?
Okay. So let's circle back to the marketing side of things for just a minute. So, Mr. Chambers, what types of posts or marketing content typically performs the most effectively?
For a small business, people want to feel connected to your company. So anything that's very personal, like behind the scenes posts, people love to see that. They want to see the culture of your business, show off your employees, show off what your processes look like. They also want to see, I guess, just like fun types of posts, those customer testimonials. They want to hear stories about the value that your company has provided to your customers, give them tips based on the industry that you work in, and also show off your accomplishments that you have, because that helps show the value that you can provide. Also, anytime you're posting something, I recommend including photos in those posts over just kind of graphic type photos because it shows the character of your company. If you're going to use a graphic that has information about an event, I would just be cautious on having those be too wordy because if it's a post that has a bunch of words on a picture, then people are more likely just to scroll past it, and you can always put that information in the caption. One of the big things that's huge right now is short form content. So if you can create short, engaging videos that can capture the user's attention, those will usually perform a lot better than your typical posts. Usually anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds. People have very short attention spans nowadays, so if you can capture them within 30 seconds, then you can get your point across a lot quicker. So just building that personal connection and showing people the value you provide through those posts is probably what's going to perform best for you.
So
Absolutely.
in terms of social media, another thing with AI is that you can leverage AI to analyze your posts and the posts of your competitors in your space to figure out what posts are the most engaging, what gets the most likes, what gets the most shares, what are the best times of the day to post, what are the best days of the week to post, because many of us sometimes are just throwing stuff out there and hoping it works. And again, we may not necessarily have either have the skills to evaluate all those posts or the time because, right, you're actually running your business. But AI can do a lot of those things for you. It could be, again, using a large language model, or it could be a tool that you already is designed for that, like a Hootsuite or a HubSpot or something like that. But we sometimes think, we think all AI is ChatGPT, but a lot of times AI is built into the services you already use. So if you've ever used Facebook, when you were typing a comment, did Facebook ever suggest to you ways that you could make that content better? That's AI, right? So we have to also remember the tools that we're already using are adding AI components all the time. If you're using grammar check to make your documents that you send better, many of those have AI that are built into those. So again, it's small things. You don't have to be a tech guru to understand AI. And in other pieces, think about not looking at AI like a robot. Think of it as another person on your team and how you would communicate with it. Because a lot of times we'll just say, write me this email. But if you were working with a teammate, would you just tell the team member, write me an email? No, you'd say, hey, new employee, we're in this business. Here's our customer, and this is what we know about this customer, and this is the next step that we need this customer to do, right? So tell that to the tool, right? You don't have to put all the personal information in there, but you can give it a context. You can take that and then create what you need from that. And so again, in terms of learning how to prompt, that's probably the biggest thing for most people, because again, most people aren't gonna be huge tech people when it comes to AI, but learning how to prompt effectively is probably gonna be the single most effective thing you do to grow your business and train your employees. Because again, if you're not leveraging it, your competitors are. And so figuring out how you can do more with less, because again, if you're a small business owner, you've got a lot of things you manage and your team has a lot of things they manage. And this can help you all be more effective to do those things that you think are the most valuable things for your business.
And I was going to add on to what you said about looking at competitors. You have software like Meta Business Suite, which is where you run your Facebook page, your Instagram page all in one spot. They have benchmarking that you can do, so you can pick your competitors or businesses you want to be like, and so you can see how many followers they have, what posts they're posting. LinkedIn also has this feature, so you can always kind of watch what your competitors are doing, and then you can go through, check out their posts. It'll show you their top performing content, and so it'll just help you generate ideas for what's working for other people and different things that you can try as well.
Okay. And Ms. Cooke, you represent a target demographic for a lot of us, and obviously a huge part of our population. Tell me about what posts, what things grab your attention. Are we talking words, pictures, videos? Like, what are the things that you feel like you engage with the most, or your generation engages with the most?
Normally it's pictures or short videos, because when they're longer videos or something wordy, they tend to just be more aggravating in a way. And like if it's a video, then they just get in the middle of the way of something else that we're doing.
Okay. And as a follow-up to that, do you prefer to see videos of real people, like say an influencer, or AI-generated videos that might be, I don't know, more outlandish or humorous in content? Like, what's your preference?
I would say a real person, like a social influencer, because it's coming from a real person's perspective and you're getting their actual feedback.
Okay, very good. You look like you have a comment, Mr. Chambers.
I mean, as somebody that also just kind of doom scrolls on social media every once in a while, definitely that short form content is just so easy to catch people's attention. And I lean towards the humor side. So I get a lot of like different types of business videos as well as just ridiculous content that pops up on my feed. So anything that's like funny right off the bat immediately catches my attention. If it's like a short video, I'm definitely going to watch the whole video depending on how engaging it is. I found myself on 10-minute, 15-minute videos not knowing what I'm doing. So as long as it's engaging and it is like a real person that's in that video, being funny, getting a point across, you're very likely to catch that user's attention and get your information to them.
Sure. Tony?
And speaking of the short-term content, think about AI and how you can leverage that. You know, regardless of what business you're in, you know, you're probably having conversations with your clients about, you know, what are their objections, right? So what are the reasons why they don't buy from you? You know, is it that they don't have enough money, or they don't have enough time, or whatever those things are? And so you can actually help or use AI to help you develop, you know, short video content and say, okay, you know, here's some of the challenges that our customers are facing, and I need to come up with some video ideas or some social media ideas, and it can help you develop what some of that might look like. And so it can help you create the captions, it can help you create images, it can help you give you a script for, you know, if you want to create short videos. So, you know, I encourage you, if you haven't done it already, to go to one of these tools and say, you know, hey, Copilot, or hey, you know, Gemini, or whatever tool you use. I'm a small business owner in this industry, and I'm in this part of the state. And here are some of the challenges that I'm having in my business. What are some suggestions that you have for me? And then the next piece of that is act like you are someone who has been in that industry for the last 20 years. And because again, context matters in prompting, right? And so if you do go home and you do that, it will probably give you a few things. Maybe you won't use all of them, but it might give you one or two things to give you a place to start. And then it's going to give you, you're going to have some follow-up questions for it. And then you start having this conversation, and it becomes a thought partner and a helpful piece of your business. So again, if there are challenges that you have in your business, I mean, the reality is it has the volume of what's going on the internet to help you find an answer to that problem.
So we've heard, and I'd like to ask this of the whole panel, I'd like to hear all of your thoughts on this. We've heard some positive uses of AI, some things we can do that would help us. What are some mistakes that businesses might make, or marketing guys whenever they're making posts and things? What are the things that could go wrong?
For one, you could just copy and paste and not read it, right? Because AI does something called hallucinations every now and again. So sometimes it comes up with stuff that doesn't make sense, right? Or it's just wrong, right? And if you look at the bottom of a lot of these tools, it'll have a disclaimer. This is a new device. It's still learning what it is it needs to do. Because in terms of what ChatGPT has been out, 3 or 4 years at this point? So, I mean, think about it is a smart 3 or 4 year old kid, but it's still, in terms of its age, it hasn't been around a long time. And so it's not perfect. You know your industry better than, you know, at the end of the day, better than this tool. So if it gives you something that's wrong, or something that doesn't resonate with your brand audience in a way that you know it's gonna maybe, you know, upset people, you know, make sure you're reading it beforehand, not just pasting blindly. Also, if you're not putting in all of your context because you don't want to share certain information on the web, it won't know everything. So you'll need to be able to go in and tailor it, the response to whatever it is that's going on in your situation.
Definitely with the copy and paste in, like AI does sound like AI. So whenever it spits something out at you, try to add that human touch to it. Be like, okay, these are the parts that I want to keep. This is something I want to add to it. And especially if you're doing like larger events or having it write workshops and stuff like that, you also have to understand the information that AI is giving you. It can think high level sometimes, so it might spit something out at you and you're like, oh yeah, that sounds really great, but do you even understand what it's actually giving you? And so you have to understand what what the prompts are, what it's giving you, so that you can take that information and then apply it to whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Ms. Cooke, do you have any experience with people messing up with AI? Okay. So, talk to me about a single action, a step that a small business owner that maybe hasn't really embraced AI yet or doesn't realize they've embraced it, because like you mentioned already, it's built into a lot of things we already use, and you may not realize it. But what's an intentional action that we could take away, this afternoon to potentially improve our businesses with AI?
Find the AI tool that works best for you. I usually use ChatGPT. I also like using Gemini. They both have started pulling from the web. I think back like a year or two ago, like ChatGPT only had a database that backed up to 2022. Now it has access to the full web, so that was one of the reasons I always used Gemini, because I just thought, oh, it comes from Google, so it's going to be able to access absolutely everything. Kind of flipping it in terms of social media as well, some advice there is don't try to be on every single platform. You should only be on the platform where you know your customers are. It can be really stressful to try to handle a ton of different social media platforms, and then your attention is spread to all of them, so you're not really being as effective. So if you just choose one, maybe two, where you know your customers are, and try your best to perfect your image on there, perfect your reach, it'll help you know what's going to perform best on that platform, what your customers are enjoying, and then you can transfer that over to other social media platforms. We've talked about ChatGPT, using Gemini as free tools to help you generate content, come up with ideas. We've also mentioned Canva if you want to design your post yourself or any other marketing collateral you have. So I just recommend just get really good at something and find out what your customers want, what they enjoy. Find the tool that works best for you. Feel free to bounce around to different types of AI and see which ones are giving you the best content, and then just take that and roll with it.
My recommendation is try to use social media or use AI to create a 30-day social media content calendar. All right, so think about the platforms you use, get it to create templates for you for your posts for all the days of the week that you post on the various platforms, so you don't have to think about it and you can go back to running your business. The other piece is, again, developing your list of your 3 to 5 tools that you use. So maybe you have a generic tool like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Copilot. Having a graphic tool like Canva, and then having a video tool, whether that's Google VO or the Nano Banana or any of these other new tools that make videos, and also having a social media automation tool. Whether that's a HubSpot or a Hootsuite or any of these other tools that you can program those in, and then you're not the one who's going in. Like whenever it's Friday at 3:00, it posts it for you, right? And it's analyzing when is the right time to do that, and it sets that schedule for you. And then you just look at the reports to see what is working and what's not working. And so you become more of a manager and not the person who's actually posting all that stuff.
And let me reframe the question just a little bit for Ms. Cooke, because I know you aren't a business owner yet. But if you came across a friend that said they've miraculously never heard of AI, they've never used AI, how would you respond to that? Would you encourage them to use it? And what, if you did encourage them to use it, how would you tell them to get started?
I would probably just explain to them that you really only need it if you feel like you need another source, like a different one. And then, like, that's pretty much it.
So that's kind of encouraging to me, because it sounds like you're saying that you don't base everything on AI, that you still look for your own intellect, your own experiences. Is that?
Yes.
Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Like, you can use your own experiences to get the main idea, and then if you need some more things to rely on, you can just ask it, I guess.
Got you. So it may give you some prompts of other lines of thinking. Got you. Very good.
I was also going to add, I think AI is just, it's good as a starting point. I think one of the biggest fears is that AI is just going to end up doing everything for everybody, and people aren't really going to learn anything anymore. So I always try to be cautious of how much I rely on it. So if I'm planning a ambassador's program at work, but I just needed help finding that starting point. So I gave it all the information it needed and asked it to write me an outline for this program I'm creating. And then I went in and actually provided the content to that outline. So I just use it as that starting point. Don't just rely on it to do everything that you do, or else you're going to slowly start just leaning more and more on it. You're not going to be learning as much. Anytime you just have a simple question, instead of just using your brain to answer it or find the resource, you're just going to be like, well, I'm sure AI knows that. And you're just going to use it for everything. So just kind of be cautious with how you use it, and still put in that brain power yourself.
Now, I think you mentioned a minute ago, Mr. Chambers, knowing which specific platform or limited set of platforms that your market may exist in, and not trying to get on all the different platforms. So, and I think that's good advice, but my question then is, how do you know which one? How do you know where your audience is? So is that, what are the tools or the ways we can find that out?
I think it's just a little bit of research on your end. Find out who your competitors are, see the platforms that they're on. That's always a good starting point, because then you can see the type of content they're posting, what type of people are engaging with it. For like our market segments, since we're at the university for entrepreneurship, we have like students as a segment, their parents as a segment, our alumni, our donors, and the community. So like if I want to post something towards donors or the community, I'm usually leaning on LinkedIn, because that's where a lot of business-to-business stuff happens. For the community, I always like to go to Facebook, because there's all the community pages, so I know that our audience is always going to be on there. Students, that's definitely going to be Instagram, possibly X. And I just kind of figured this out. I looked at other universities and I saw where they were posting, what type of content they posted on each platform. And I just kind of use that as a starting point and kind of mimic that. So whatever industry you're in, look up your competitors, go find where they are, what kind of content they're posting on those pages, and then kind of use that to build your backbone and your posting schedules, what platforms you decide to be on. And wherever they're getting the most engagement, you probably have a pretty good shot at getting the most engagement there as well. So I think that's a great starting point for it.
And Mr. Chambers also touched on this earlier, but again, with Meta, you can look at the dashboard, and it can give you demographics on the age of the folks that are resonating with your posts, where they might live, things like that. And then you can leverage that by creating ads. And again, with Meta, you have access to Facebook and Instagram. And you can use that data to be able to create custom audiences and lookalike audiences to be able to figure out exactly who you want to target. So if your average customer is a small business owner between the ages of 35 and 55 who lives in Panola County, you can create an ad that generally goes to those individuals, right? If you're then thinking, okay, well, my customer is instead, maybe a customer between the ages of 25 and 45 who likes to eat at Juicy's, right? You can create an ad based on that, right? Because you've done some research to know my customer base likes this restaurant. And so there are things that you can do in terms of the ability to customize your audience and use those tools and leverage them. Again, artificial intelligence is going to be built into those things. So it's not always just using AI, it's using tools that happen to have AI built into them. But again, leveraging tools to help you be more strategic about reaching your customer.
And I'm curious too, your perspective, Ms. Cooke, just with all the different social media platforms that exist, what would you say is your generation's perception of those platforms? Like, I know with my kids, I'll prompt a little bit, but you take the answer however you want. But with my kids, they say, well, Facebook is for the old people and Instagram is for the young people. YouTube is for the old people and TikTok is for the young people. So how would you speak to that?
A lot of younger people are on Instagram or TikTok, and you can get a lot of ads and find more stuff out about businesses through those.
So is there a particular platform that you would say, if we were trying to reach your generation, that if I was only going to focus on one, where would I want to be?
Probably TikTok or Instagram.
Okay. Very good.
I'm glad that you said that and I didn't, because I wanted to say, yeah, I think the older generation tends to be on Facebook. So I'm glad that you were the one that said it. But that's one thing I've noticed as well. Because, I've also had Facebook since it started, but now I know, like, my parents, my grandparents, they tend to use it more than I do. I use it mostly for work purposes and for connecting with the community, and then I try to use Instagram as the way that I connect with people that are a lot younger, students' age. SFA can't use TikTok, so
Sure.
not on that platform, not super familiar with it. But yeah, just also knowing where those audiences are and using everything he said about setting up those demographics, seeing the age range of your customer base. I know whenever at my previous job, I worked with Elliott Electric Supply in their marketing department, and so I was having to analyze what age group are electrical contractors in, and they tend to be on the older side of things, and then had to learn how do I, as at that time a 23-year-old, connect with a 55-year-old, 60-year-old electrical contractor. So just kind of learning as much as you can about your audience, what their interests are, looking at the analytics on all your posts. I think that's very helpful in kind of breaking down what your audience really looks like.
And we keep circling back around the same point, and so I want to make sure that we say it very clearly. It matters who you're trying to reach as to what platform you're going to be on, what the content's going to look like, what your campaign's going to be. There may be some groups where an email campaign would be very, very effective, where there's other groups that a TikTok campaign could be very effective. So it really depends on who your target market is and understanding that market. That said, I want to circle back. Dr. Edwards, you mentioned a minute ago using the tools that are in Meta, and they do have fabulous tools for helping us to understand how our posts are performing. But that's a limited platform. That's just your Facebook and Instagram. So let's say we're looking at X, we're looking at email, we're looking at TikTok, whatever it is, we want to expand our reach. What tools exist to help me figure that out?
So again, each tool, like, X is going to have its own, tool to be able to do ads and things like that. Part of it also is to remember that all these are just tools, but at the end of the day, the only thing that you really own is your website. And so if you don't have a great strategy for driving business to your website and capturing leads, you're always going to be dependent on the ads from Facebook, the ads on Instagram and other tools. And depending on your budget, you may not be able to do that exponentially, right? But if you've got a great strategy of being able to get out there and get to know people and drive people to your website, and then collect leads that way, you're always going to have a strategy that whether Facebook ads perform or not, or Instagram ads, you've got a strategy for bringing people into your business. And some of that is old-fashioned, whether it's being at community events, right? We have a community event in Panola County this weekend, right? And so making sure that you're visible at those types of things, being involved in various, and then there's word of mouth advertising to be able to, give people flyers that drive people to your website, business cards. So are the things that you have pointing people to your site. And then being able to look at, whether it's Google Analytics or other tools, to be able to measure the demographics of the people who visit your site. Where are they coming from? Are they taking action on your site? Are they clicking and leaving? Which pages are they looking at? How much time are they spending on those pages? Are the people who go to your lead generation form, are they getting to the thank you page or the confirmation page, which means they filled it out? And so being able to look at those tools, and again, you don't have to be a computer science major to understand all of those. You just need to be a person who has about 15 minutes to watch a YouTube video, right, to be able to figure some of that stuff out. But Google Analytics is great because you can see the traffic coming from Facebook, wherever, whether it's, search traffic, so people are still using Google search, people are still using Bing, people are, using ChatGPT or Perplexity. I know we haven't really talked about Perplexity, but it is another tool that a lot of people are using to find information on businesses in an area. And so if you don't have a website, it doesn't have as much information to crawl, right? So because again, AI is now how a lot of people are trying to find out about your business. And if you don't have your own platform, you're dependent upon what they can get from Facebook or Instagram. But if somebody's got their own website or blog that has that stuff, AI can crawl that information and use that in order to help find you and get the word out about your business.
So I'd like to open this up for questions from the audience as well. I see Brian walking around. Here we go.
Hi, how you doing? As businesses are using AI and learning to use AI with images and videos, is there any copyright information that we may have to worry about, or that may be coming about that you can talk about?
I will say there was a recent ruling with Anthropic, which makes Claude, which is one of the AI tools, and that is really more centered around, from my understanding, and I will defer to some of my experts in the room, but my understanding is that deals with the platform itself and how it was obtaining information to be able to use to provide answers. And so the information that it gained through fair use, it was considered to be exempt from infringement. But information that was gathered through not the best means that was used is now being considered up for grabs to be, whether that is, suits or other things that happen. But that's not on the individual user, that's on the platform that was gathering the information. That being said, if, let's just say you find information and it shows you images, you also still got to find out where that image came from, right? And is that information, what are the licensing requirements for that image? So even if it just pulls up an image, you can't just blindly take it. You've got to then do the research and click, where does this image come from, and find out, did it have licensing issues that go with it? Because you could be using someone's licensed image or something like that without their permission. But again, it goes back to the principle of don't just take whatever it gives you, do the work, because again, it can sometimes give you stuff that's not real, right? So you might be in a position of, say you have a healthcare business and you're like, well, I need some quotes about healthcare, and it pulls up some quotes that are not real. And you've then just put those quotes out there because you just trusted that it was real. But back to this question, just really making sure that any information, whether it's photos or other things, that you know for sure that it's okay to use them. But as far as much of what's happened right now is dealing with the actual models themselves and whether they're at fault for the information they give you. If my biggest advice is just as a small business owner, take all the pictures you can take, right? Because then you don't have to, so if you're out doing business on the job, take pictures, interview your clients, get content, because then you don't have to ask anybody for permission because it's your content.
we go.
Hello, my name is Jason. I own Blue Paw Energy Services.
The challenge I have as a deaf business owner is being able to target the potential hearing customers as I provide electrical service to both a broad range of people, including the government. Will the use of AI for both social media and my website be a good tool to utilize, such as providing answers in frequently asked questions, while I can easily provide the same answers with the deaf customers who sign? In other words, where do I start if I want to use AI to integrate with my business?
In general, frequently asked questions, chat bots, things of that nature are good for any business. In terms of accessibility, in terms of helping folks who have, who are, entrepreneurs who, have some of these different challenges, it can be helpful for them to expand their business. But I would say it's good practice for everyone, regardless of your individual situation, to use some of these tools. Because again, if you find that there's questions that people are asking you all the time, you might want to have something on your site that answers those questions for clients so you don't have to, all right? That's always, I think, a good thing. But also on the flip side, I would say as entrepreneurs, while this wasn't necessarily the question that was asked, I would say it's always a good idea to think about the types of customers that might be interacting with your business, and are you creating content that folks of different accessibility levels can access? So if you use images for your business, are you putting in the metadata in those under those images when you upload them to Facebook? Because if you don't, they won't be able to read them with a screen reader, right? So those are little things that you can do that would reach out to folks, because there are people who use Facebook, who use Instagram, who have, whether it's visual impairment or hearing impairment and things of that nature, they can still use the tools, but they need some of those tools on our end to help them use it more effectively.
Yeah, we do have standards in web pages that allow for accessibility, but they're not widely enforced, but they're very, very valuable, especially if that's a market that you're trying to reach. It's huge. One more question.
I actually have less of a question. I just wanted to just help provide some information. I've been really, I got really focused on learning Gemini in the last year, and Gemini has evolved really quickly. I don't know how many people have used it much, but if you're starting or you're trying to run the business or anything, Gemini, just while we were sitting here on this talk, just to see if I could do it, I took the sum total of all, I just asked it to take the sum total of all the various things I've worked on in Gemini with the business I'm starting right now, and just asked it to create a quick web app that it compiles all that information, and it's interactive, and you can use it for spreadsheets. You can use it for so many things that people don't even realize you can use it for. It will create AI tools that will let you create. It created tools like I didn't even ask it to create. It created a social media post generator and a AI menu creator and things like that. I mean, like I'm just wanting to really know that if you're, I've used ChatGPT pretty extensively too. But I think for business stuff, I would say Gemini is what I would go with all the way. I would definitely invest the $20 a month in the AI Pro plan. It will really accelerate. I don't use it to generate content. I use it to organize content. So if you're someone like me who gets really bogged down in formatting, trying to get the format right, you have a lot of ideas, you have all the data, and you're typing it all in. So you can just take that, and it will put it in easy to read format for you. It'll make it, and I think I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't find it useful. I'm a very creative person myself. I don't like to have something write it for me, but I mean it coded an entire website and an interactive web app in just the last 5 minutes. I'm just saying it's completely usable right now. I mean, I'd show it to anybody who want to see it. It's really impressive. So I just want to let that, because you guys talked on a lot of stuff, but I mean, this stuff is like for the last couple of weeks, it's started doing this kind of stuff. It's changing so fast, and growing so fast. A little scary maybe, but but it's getting, and like Gemini really has the best of, that I've seen of I guess, persistent memory. It will persistently remember what you're talking about, and it will echo back the voice you put into it is the voice it'll get back out of it. I just want to let people know that. I just thought that was useful for people. Thank you.
That's amazing. And we keep circling back around to the same things, at least where we are right now, is it doesn't replace us. It can help us be focused. It can help us get new ideas. It doesn't remove any of our responsibility. We talked about that a little bit ago. But it could be a very valuable tool to help us move forward rapidly. So, thank you all. Thank you to our panel.